This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.
Hey everybody, when you're at work, you never know when you're going to get interrupted, like when an office fire drill happens right in the middle of your presentation, or maybe construction is going on just outside your window. But with the Dell Pro laptop powered by Intel Core Ultra with vPro, no matter how many interruptions you have, your laptop won't be one of them.
Yeah, with the battery that's optimized for the way you work and built-in intelligence that quiets distractions the moment you're trying to focus, your tech won't slow you down, even when you're getting bounced from an office you forgot to reserve. The Dell Pro, built for those who stay in the flow. Find technology built the way you work at Dell.com/Dell-Pro. Built for you.
With no fees or minimums on checking accounts, it's no wonder the Capital One bank guy is so passionate about banking with Capital One. If he were here, he wouldn't just tell you about no fees or minimums. He'd also talk about how most Capital One cafes are open 7 days a week to assist with your banking needs. Yep, even on weekends. It's pretty much all he talks about, in a good way. What's in your wallet? Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com/bank. Capital One, N.A., member FDIC.
Welcome to Stuff You Should Know, a production of iHeartRadio.
Hey, and welcome to the podcast. I'm Josh Clark, and there's Charles W. Chuck Bryant, and there's Jerry over there, and this is Stuff You Should Know.
I was about to say natural disaster edition, but unnatural disaster edition.
Industrial disaster is what they call these.
Yeah, human caused.
In fact, from what I saw, what we're going to talk about today, the main thing we're talking about today is the largest industrial disaster in United States history still.
Oh, still, huh?
Yes. What,
wow.
70, almost 75 years on.
Man, it's sad. This is a big one.
Yeah, everything about this was really big, but in basically all the wrong ways.
Right.
We're going to talk today about a disaster called the Texas City explosion. And sadly, you might say, which one? Because there's been multiple massive explosions in Texas City. And one of the reasons why is because Texas City has made a name for itself as one of the premier petrochemical ports in the United States, and indeed possibly the world. I think it was up until World War II, it was like the fourth largest port in Texas. But I think since World War II, it's grown even more. And I know for a little while there, BP had a refinery that was its most profitable oil refinery in the world, which is really saying something. I mean, that's a big deal. BP's an enormous company with multiple refineries. So, you know, for the biggest one, the most profitable one to be in Texas City, it kind of put Texas City on the map in some circles.
Yeah, so Texas City is above the Gulf of Mexico. And like you said, it's a port town founded in the late 1800s by some Minnesota hunters. And they said, you know what? I think we can set up shop here. I think we can dig up a canal, set up a rail line.
Yeah.
We've got some really good deep water, and we could be a good shipping port.
I want to know how what conversation led to that? Like what hunting trip ends up in you basically building a port town in a city that's about as far away from your home as you can get in the same country? Yeah,
I mean, there were some real go-getters, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. They couldn't just relax and kill animals.
Right. Oh, God. So that's what happened to Texas City. I mean, that's how it was kind of founded. And it was think refineries, think warehouses and chemical plants. World War II comes around, and the military, of course, says, well, we'll be sort of controlling this area for a while because it's a pretty valuable port for us, and we're going to ship munitions in and out of here. World War II comes and goes, and then after the war, about a year and a half after the war, it is run by civilians again. And let's just say that it was a little more of a relaxed scene than it was when the military was running the show.
Yeah, the military ran it like a tight ship, basically. And there's just a big difference between when the military is running a port and when a port's run by just a whole bunch of different private companies. You know what I'm saying?
Minnesota hunters.
Exactly. So that's not to say it was just some loosey-goosey place or anything like that, but just comparatively speaking. And one of the other things that Texas City had going against it on the morning of April 16th, 1947, is that there weren't really a lot of standards and regulations for handling chemicals, and that we didn't have an enormous grasp on just how chemicals worked at that time. And so all of these things kind of came together, this kind of slightly lax oversight and just kind of much more relaxed attitude toward cargo. And then a lack of awareness about just what kind of dangers different cargoes pose, just kind of set things up to take a bad turn.
Yeah, so on the morning of April 16th, there were 3 ships docked in the port. There was most notably the SS Grand Camp, which was it was a military ship at one point, but I think we gave it to France as like hey, sorry, Europe is kind of destroyed. Why don't you take this ship and just use it for whatever you want to do? And it was converted to a cargo ship, which it was on the day of April 16th, and it was beside the SS High Flyer, and that was beside the third one named after somebody. What was that one?
The Robert Keene or the William Keene?
Oh, wait a minute. Which one was it?
Well, it was the Wilson B. Keene, even better.
Right, the Billy Keene, as they called it.
Yeah, and I believe all 3 of those were Liberty ships, right?
Yeah, they were World War II ships, and they were, I think the SS High Flyer was being fixed at the time, but was still loaded down with stuff, as was the Grand Camp, and we'll sort of detail what was in the cargo because it's all very, very key.
Yeah, it's really important. So for the 5 days leading up to April 16th, stevedores, I think that's how you say it, but basically dock hands. I don't know why you wouldn't just say dock hand, but the stevedores, man, I hope I'm saying that correctly, Chuck. They had loaded up the Grand Camp with 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate fertilizer. And these were in 100-pound paper sacks, akin to the kind of sacks that you would buy like Portland cement in these days, right?
Yeah.
There was some other cargo, sisal twine, peanuts. There was some machinery. There was some cotton. There was 16 cases of ammunition, I think like for small arms ammunition. But for the most part, it was a lot of ammonium nitrate. And the same went for the SS High Flyer, too, which, as you said, was in the next berth. It was loaded with 1,000 tons of ammonium nitrate. And then also, very crucially, 2,000 tons of sulfur. And all of these were also in those same 100-pound paper bags. So at the time, like I was saying, people didn't realize, like, it was a big deal that there was that much ammonium nitrate just sitting around in this port at that time.
Yeah, it's a crystal-like solid. It's white. A lot of times it's used for nitrogen, for agricultural fertilizer. But if you combine it with fuel oils, it can be very explosive and actually used for that, for like mining and construction and stuff like that. But it's not like, if you tap the side of the bag, it's going to explode. It's pretty safe as long as it's all on the up and up and it's being stored properly. But if it starts to absorb moisture, then it's sort of like Portland cement again. It's just going to harden to a block.
Right.
And then if that thing is in a solid block, it's going to be just a little bit more volatile and a little bit more dangerous if ignited. Yeah,
and I mean, like, it's not even considered flammable as far as I know. And certainly in 1947, it wasn't considered flammable, because if you walked up to some of this ammonium nitrate, these pellets, and just held a lighter to them, they wouldn't catch fire. That's not really what they do. What they do is they oxidize things. They basically create free radicals, like we talked about in the free radical episode.
Yeah.
Which sets off like a chain reaction. And because they oxidize, they concentrate and condense and produce basically oxygen where it wasn't otherwise present. When that is combined with the fire, it makes a big time fire. So that's bad enough, right? Like if you set them off, like it'll combust, or it'll help something else combust more efficiently and more at a higher temperature. But the big problem with ammonium nitrate is there is a point where it can reach a high enough heat that it itself decays and degrades. And when that happens, it splits into two gases, nitrous oxide and water vapor, which you're like, well, that's great. You know, you just get super duper high off of one and the other one just makes you a little moist. Maybe so, in small enough amounts. But when this happens in a large enough amount, especially when this ammonium nitrate is in one big melted block, the chain reaction can happen much more efficiently. And when those gases are produced, when the thing decays and separates, they expand really quickly, and that produces an explosion. And the forces, the energy that's released from an explosion of ammonium nitrate decaying and converting into nitrous oxide and water vapor is monumental. Like compared to atomic bomb blast, basically, if you have enough of it, say 2,300 tons and 1,000 tons in a couple of ships just sitting in port.
All right, that's a great place for a cliffhanger, I think.
I think so, too.
All right, we'll be right back after this.
Hey, everybody, we're here to talk to you about Wayfair, who believes that spaces should be functional, they should be comfortable, they should be well-designed, and they can be well-designed by you with their help.
Your updated space should feel more comfortable, inviting, and practical for everyday use. And we're talking about outdoor seating. We're talking about grills. We're talking about major appliances. If you need storage solutions, Wayfair can help you out. Patio lighting, rugs, decor. It is your one-stop shop for home.
Yeah. I mean, it's getting nice out, so it's time to think about living outdoors for the next few months. And Wayfair knows that outdoor furniture, it's heavy, it's intimidating to assemble. So Wayfair has stepped in and said, we're going to handle the hard part so you don't have to.
That's right. You can shop Wayfair Verified, your shortcut to the good stuff. And that means their team of product specialists are going to vet everything by hand using a 10-point inspection, testing things like, quality materials, functionality, and features, and even how long it takes to build that piece of furniture. And the overall experience save time, reduce hassle, and improved convenience.
Patio season is here, and these deals won't last. So head to wayfair.com right now to get your outdoor space ready for way less. That's WAYFAIR.com.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated, waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
All right, so this stuff, the cargo arrived by train to Texas City, and it was probably already heating up a little bit on this train, and maybe already getting to the point where it was a little, I don't know about unstable, but volatile at least. And it gets transferred to the ship. It continues to sort of heat up, and the crew and everything, like you said, there wasn't a lot of awareness about kind of anything like this at the time. Mm-hmm. So to them, it was just another cargo hold. They might have said like, be careful with this stuff, guys, or maybe not even that.
Yeah.
But they definitely didn't know like heat bad for this stuff.
Yeah, they said, you owe me $2 from lunch yesterday. That's what they said
right.
when they were loading this up.
So around 8 a.m. in the morning, these workers there started noticing that there was smoke and vapors coming out of the ship. So there was some kind of a fire going on. No one knew how it started or what happened. There are some people anecdotally that say it was a cigarette. That was not in the, Could have been. That wasn't in the official report, which also wouldn't be surprising.
Well, what I saw later on, Chuck, that the fact that these things were in those paper sacks, that if they were heating up, they were just going to continue to heat up, being packed tightly in the hold of this unventilated ship. They were just going to get warmer and warmer. And it's possible that the ammonium nitrate caused the paper sack to combust, catch fire, spread to other paper sacks. And then you had a positive feedback loop where it just kept getting the fire kept getting bigger and bigger and crucially, very important, hotter and hotter.
Right. So the captain sees this happening. There are people kind of pouring in and looking around at what's going on. The captain says, batten down these hatches, pull these tarps over them, and start pumping steam in there, which apparently was a method at the time to put out a fire on a ship when you didn't want to ruin the cargo, as opposed to just blasting it with a fire hose, which would cause all this stuff to just brick up like Portland cement. Mm-hmm. He starts pumping steam in there, and that just started heating. Everyone knows steam is going to heat stuff up. So that just started, and the moisture made a bad situation a lot worse really quickly.
Yeah, I get the impression that had the captain, his name was Captain Charles de Guillabon, he made the decision to just go ahead and let the cargo be ruined and have the fire put out with fire hoses, this all might never have happened. Yeah. But it was, and I understand where he was coming from. He didn't want to ruin the cargo if he didn't have to, because steaming out a fire aboard a ship was an accepted firefighting technique. It works, and it could conceivably save a lot of the cargo. So it's not like he just made this ridiculous, stupid mistake. It's just, in hindsight, it was probably the decision that led to this catastrophe.
Yeah, I think more than anything, it's like you said, it was the time when there was not much regulation, and sort of in the dawning of the chemical age, people just didn't know. Right.
And plus also at the time, Texas City had a volunteer fire department, which I would guess wouldn't have quite as much jurisdiction and could be told by a captain like, no, just go away. Like, I'm going to handle this myself, rather than being like, no, we're going to put the fire out on your ship.
Yeah, that's a good point. So the steam is making things worse. It pumped into the holds, and everything's heating up. Everything's getting moist. And like we said, moisture is no good for this stuff. And it started to convert to these solid masses, and, there's going to be gas releasing, and it's building up all this pressure because they had battened down the hatches and covered them with tarps. And it so much so that it blew these hatch covers off at about 8:30 in the morning.
That's crazy, man. Just that alone would have been spectacular, and I'm sure it was. But when those hatches blew off, all the smoke that had been kind of stuck in the hold inside the ship started billowing out. And the thing apparently about ammonium nitrate burning is it produces really kind of mesmerizing colored smoke. From one of the witnesses, it was apparently salmon, orange, and purple.
Oh, wow.
And so this smoke coming out of it started to attract people, like onlookers who were like, what's going on? I want to go see this giant weird fire that's going on down at the port. And something like 300 people, including entire families, kids from the local school came over. All sorts of people just kind of stopped what they were doing and came to watch this weird fire at the port. And apparently KGBC out of Galveston, which is just 10 miles down the coast out in the Gulf of Mexico, they were warning people to stay away, but apparently that just alerted more people that there was something going on, who went down to go check it out themselves.
Yeah, so they knew that there was a big problem at this point. They did call the firefighters in and a tugboat to maybe try and get that thing out of there. And at this point, like you said, the heat was just so great that even a fire hose isn't going to do much. It's kind of just vaporizing when it hits it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Because of the massive amounts of heat. And then, this whole thing started at 8. At 8:30 is when the hatches blew. And then at 9:12, the thing exploded. And we're going to kind of list through a pretty horrifying list of impacts from like distances. Like a seismograph in Denver, Colorado picked up this explosion.
Yeah. And this is, again, in the southernmost part of Texas, right?
Yeah, like they felt it in Louisiana, like 3,000 foot fire bombs and cargo flying up in the air.
So yeah, the enormous amount of energy that I was talking about that was released by this 2,300 tons of ammonium nitrate. In retrospect, I think has been I saw compared to a 2.7 kiloton blast.
Yeah,
which would put this blast of this ship blowing up at somewhere on the order of about 1/5 of the Hiroshima nuclear bomb, which just completely leveled that city. This was about 1/5 that size. So it was still a really substantial, enormous blast. And one of the first effects it had is that it blew this Liberty ship, this huge World War II era cargo ship, a couple thousand feet into the air in multiple pieces to just shower out downward as hot metal shrapnel onto the surrounding city. And that's not accounting for the shrapnel that immediately blew outward as those gases expanded right into all of those onlookers and the people who were fighting the fire around the port.
Yeah, there was they had a couple of 2-ton anchors. One of those went about 1.5 miles away in the air.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, you could feel it in Louisiana. There was a Monsanto and a Union Carbide, 2 different chemical plants kind of right beside it. They were just flattened, basically just not even there anymore.
Yeah, I saw that one of the warehouses, Warehouse Zero at the port, which was, I think, the one that was closest to the ship. This historian from Houston, I think, said that it just disappeared. Like it was just gone. Like it wasn't there any longer. Like the word disintegrate works in a lot of the instances when you're describing what happened to a lot of the structures and people who were around this blast.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the obvious thing. You know, there were hundreds of onlookers. There were people that worked there. There were all 28 members of the fire department. They were all killed basically instantly. Anyone within that zone was killed instantly. Some people, like you said, just not even able to recover enough body parts to identify humans at that point.
Yeah, that proved to be a real problem. So like, first of all, the fact that the entire fire department, apparently there was one survivor from the fire department, but he was out of town at the time. That's why he survived. Yeah. But the whole fire department and all of their equipment was immediately wiped out. One of the problems was with an explosion like this in a place like this is that it ruptures lines and pipes, and all of those petrochemicals that are being refined suddenly catch fire. So now you have these out of control fires in the buildings and structures that are left standing, and you no longer have a fire department or any fire equipment to put it out for a little while. So the immediate impact outside of the blast was also the fires that were lit just right after this too.
Well, I mean, you've got the metal shrapnel, but then you've also, remember, there were peanuts and twine and cotton and all this stuff. So these are like fireballs being launched, basically starting fires all over the place. It wasn't just in the immediate area. And like you said, because the fire department was then out of commission, that's real trouble. Yeah.
So it took a little while for more aid to show up, but apparently this explosion was so bad and the catastrophe was so great. The Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Marines, Texas National Guard, and then firefighters from surrounding cities all came out to help.
Man.
And this wasn't just like putting this chemical fire out, but also like trying to, rescue people from rubble. Like there's really a lot that we could sit here and say, but if you have a computer in front of you, like just look up pictures from the Texas City explosion of 1947. It's just unreal what happened to like enormous steel buildings just turned into like twisted metal. And this is like, the middle of a work day. So there were people trapped all over the place in this debris. So there was a huge rescue operation that had to start, but it was delayed because most of the people who were tasked with that kind of thing had all been killed in the initial blast.
Yeah, so remember earlier we said that there were 3 ships there. This one blows up, and obviously, it's a full-on like 9/11 scene at this point with just how chaotic it is. Mm-hmm. People are not noticing that right next door, the SS High Flyer also, remember, was loaded with this stuff and also with sulfur, which makes it become unstable. And this thing had been unlodged. I mean, I'm surprised. It's just the integrity of these ships is the only reason that those weren't just blown to bits too.
Yeah.
Like it was kind of right next to it, and it was still intact at least. And it was blown from its moorings though and drifted over and kind of attached itself to the Wilson B. Keene, which was again in the slip next to it. And I think there were some crew members aboard in there that I guess were just protected by that thick steel, right?
Yeah, from what I understand.
And they were kind of still doing their thing
for a little while, and they were finally, because the high flyer caught fire as well, they were finally forced out by the smoke, because this is some noxious smoke. This isn't just like wood burning smoke. This is some really bad chemical smoke that can mess you up. It's crazy that these sailors stayed aboard for an hour, but they're finally forced off a ship. But they tell people like, "Hey, this is on fire." Everybody's like, "Have you seen the other problems we have over here?" And the fire department just got basically vaporized. So the fire was allowed to continue on the high flyer for hours and hours. Like that blast happened at 9:12 a.m. And it wasn't until the afternoon that somebody else rediscovered the fire aboard the high flyer and started to kind of like raise the alarm about this. Still, this is such a chaotic scene that there wasn't anything immediately done about it. And it wasn't until 11 p.m. that they're finally like, oh, this is a bad jam, because not only do we have 1,000 tons of ammonium nitrate aboard the high flyer, there's that sulfur you mentioned, Chuck. And like you said, it makes it even more unstable in that, you know how ammonium nitrate oxidizes things?
Yeah.
Sulfur is like food to that stuff. It oxidizes sulfur. It's just like piling on this oxidizing fuel to make the blast even more energetic. So it would be a really big problem if the high flyer blew up. So they brought in some tugboats and a fireboat, I think, from Galveston, and started to try to take it out of the berth, to tug it out to sea to let it like burn out or blow up or whatever it was going to do. But I guess it was stuck so fast that that they couldn't get it out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, this thing was knocked, I guess, just sort of wedged in there from that first explosion. And I think they worked on it for a couple of hours. They started at about 11 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
And then it looks like by 1 a.m. they had stopped that process. And at 1:10, and this is now on April 17th, early the next morning, the high flyer exploded as well. And this was even more violent. It's not a saving grace at all because everything was already leveled, but the only reason it didn't cause more death and more destruction, sadly, is because everything was already destroyed and most people were already dead.
Yeah, and plus also they knew enough by this time that they needed to clear the area, that there wasn't anything they could do. So everybody who was working in the rescue operation was told to leave. So I don't know if there were any more deaths from the high flyer blowing up, but the problem is that any fires that might have been put out were relit, and other structures that may have been spared from the initial blast were now leveled or caught fire or both. So it was a big problem that the high flyer blew up as well.
I think it sunk the Wilson Keene too.
It did. It sunk it, and it was. I can only imagine too. Also, if you survived that first one, to have another blast like that, even one you were away from and you knew was coming, would just do something to the nerves that would be really difficult to recover from.
Yeah, for sure.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, we'll take a little break and we'll talk about sort of the results of the devastation and a couple of other incidents right after this.
Hey, everybody. I want to talk to you a little bit about Tide Evo because it represents over 10 years of innovation and product development. Tide Evo is a first-of-its-kind technology where tens of thousands of minuscule fibers are spun together to form a 6 times powerful layer packed with scrubbers, brighteners, pre-treaters, and fresheners. And that's going to deliver a breakthrough clean that's so powerful, it feels like magic.
Yeah, it is kind of like magic. Tide Evo is revolutionary. A 100% concentrated waterless laundry tile that's made of compressed microfiber soap layers rather than liquid or powder. And it's not like pods or sheets because it uses 6 layers of detergent fibers to deliver superior cold water cleaning without plastic packaging of any kind. And it provides a mess-free, lightweight solution that dissolves lickety-split. So whenever you run into a laundry challenge, turn to Tide Evo. It's revolutionary. It's magic. Try new Tide Evo. Real laundry magic.
Introducing the all-new Mazda CX-5, featuring more connection.
Hey Google, where's the nearest Pilates class?
Safety that has your back. More discovery on the scenic routes. More passion in the details. And more control in changing weather. The all-new Mazda CX-5. More to move every side of you. See it in 5 films at MazdaUSA.com/5sides.
Google is a trademark of Google LLC. Sequences shortened and simulated.
Hey, everybody. When you're at work, you never know when you're going to get interrupted, like when an office fire drill happens right in the middle of your presentation, or maybe construction is going on just outside your window. But with the Dell Pro laptop powered by Intel Core Ultra with vPro, no matter how many interruptions you have, your laptop won't be one of them.
Yeah, with the battery that's optimized for the way you work and built-in intelligence that quiets distractions the moment you're trying to focus, your tech won't slow you down, even when you're getting bounced from an office you forgot to reserve. The Dell Pro, built for those who stay in the flow. Find technology built the way you work at Dell.com/Dell-Pro. Built for you. We've all had the experience of calling a business and just wanting to talk to a real person. Not an automated voice pretending to be human, an actual person who can listen and understand and offer help.
That's exactly what you can do with Ruby. Ruby is the virtual receptionist company that takes care of your callers when you're unavailable in the middle of something or simply don't want to pick up.
That's right. They can answer, screen, transfer calls. They can take messages, collect payments, book appointments, and more, all while making the people you serve feel special.
And best of all, it can help you be more productive. For example, 9 out of 10 lawyers who use Ruby log more billable hours per day than the national average.
And other professionals like plumbers and technicians win more customers while being able to stay focused on the job. But whatever kind of small business you run, Ruby is built to save you time, earn you more customers or clients, and make meaningful connections with the people you serve.
It's available 24/7, 365 days a year, and 100% based in the U.S. See why more than 15,000 small businesses use Ruby. Visit Ruby.com, or better yet, call them at 844-900-RUBY.
Okay, so Chuck, one thing that we didn't say was that the initial explosion by the Grand Camp created like a 15-foot tidal wave that washed inland. And people died almost in creative ways in this disaster. And one of those ways was those petrochemicals. I think there was a molasses refinery that started to get mixed in that kept the petrochemicals burning in the water when it mixed with them. When this tidal wave blew out, when it blew in, it was on fire. So it actually caught people on fire. It caught people on fire on the way back out to sea, and people who'd survived the initial blast were actually swept out and drowned from this too. There were people who died in airplanes that had come around to kind of circle the area and were blown out of the sky. There were people who died in buildings that collapsed. There were people who died from shrapnel falling out of the sky and killing them, even though they were miles away. Like there was so much death and destruction that it's really difficult to get across what happened to this poor little port city that hadn't done anything to anybody that just suddenly blew up.
Yeah, in the end, the official death toll was close to 600, 581 people, 113 of which were just vaporized. No trace was ever found of 113 people. Mm-hmm. Casualties up to 5,000. The numbers kind of vary, but anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000. And, Texas City was not a very big place. It was about 16,000 strong.
Right.
So this was just devastating to the city and to the region. It took about a week to put out all these fires, and I think a full month plus to recover whatever bodies they could recover at that point.
Yeah, the final body wasn't found until mid-May. There were people who were never, like you said, accounted for. There were the converse of that was true too. There were parts of people that were never identified.
Yeah.
And one of the accounts that I read was, like I was saying, was written by I think a University of Houston historian named Cheryl Lauersdorf Ross in the journal Houston History. But she recounts somebody mentioning a woman who was trying to identify her husband who is lost in the disaster, and she had to sort through hands. They had a collection of hands that this woman was trying to figure out which one belonged to her husband. And that's just nuts to hear. But if you can even begin to put yourself into that woman's shoes.
Yeah, the reality of that.
Yes, of being in that room, of looking at different hands. And then also not just the horror of that, of having to look through body parts that may or may not be your husband's, but then the self-doubt, is that my husband's hand? I don't remember what it looked like, that just your mind messing with you on top of the horrific experience that you're already undergoing. But she was one of many, because something like 61 people, I believe, were interred without being identified, but their remains were kind of assembled and put together in a memorial service that was attended by something like thousands of people, I believe. So, Chuck, if there was 16,000 people and that many people were hurt or killed by this blast, you can imagine how quickly this little town was overwhelmed with all these casualties. And so they were getting people every which way, trucking them over to Galveston, getting them wherever they could, whatever hospital they could find. But very quickly, the high school gym was taken over to serve as a field hospital. And then shortly after that, the morgue. And one of the stories that stuck out to me was the Boy Scouts were pressed into service to basically help out however they could. And these poor little like teenage and preteen scouts are working in this makeshift morgue in their high school gym. Imagine the impression that had on them the rest of their life,
Jeez.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Every aspect of this story is just nuts.
That's very sad. Yeah, and of course the financial loss was huge. About $100 million in property loss, $500 million in lost petroleum products, and that's about $700 million and $3.5 billion in today dollars. Mm-hmm. I think there is sort of buried beneath the berms there is a memorial park where 63 unidentified victims are buried.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Yeah, and there's that anchor that we talked about. I don't know if it was the one that actually blew the 1.5 miles away, but at least one of the anchors is a monument at the park, along with a scarred propeller from the High Flyer at the entrance to the port there at Texas City.
Yeah. So that funeral procession that they had that attracted, I think, something like 5,000 mourners was a real community effort. There were something like 50 plus funeral homes from 28 different cities that all participated. And each of these 63 unidentified people, or their remains, I should say, were put in their own individual caskets and buried in the memorial park, which is still, there. That park is still there with the anchor and everything. But it's such an enormous, weird catastrophe, and just such a devastating thing, especially looking back 70 years to read about. But when you do read about it, if you can just kind of put yourself in mind of what that was like, of, trying to recover from that, it's astounding that Texas City did recover. A lot of people moved and just said, not only do I think the city's never going to come back from this, I don't know if I can come back from this, but the city actually did come back, and they did build back, from what I understand, even bigger than before, which is how that BP refinery that ended up blowing up, that became the most profitable in BP's entire company, because the city built back even better than before.
That's great.
It is great.
I mean, not great that it exploded again in 2005, obviously, but great that they had the stick-to-itness to come back as a city. So, obviously following something like this, there's going to be a lot more regulation going on. The U.S. is going to step up federally and say, hey, wait a minute. We really need to take a look at how we're handling these chemicals, how we're storing these things, how we're shipping these things. And a lot of changes were made here and around the world, but it's not to say that completely prevented this from happening again, because in Beirut just last year, in August of 2020, there was another big cargo of ammonium nitrate that had been sitting in a warehouse for 7 years. No one is exactly sure why it ignited this time, but there was a dock worker that said that there were fireworks stored nearby, and they did find thousands of kilograms of fireworks recovered from a warehouse at that port. Right. And this explosion was, it was a crater about 460 feet wide, and, it was about as big as the Texas City blast.
So I saw both. I saw that it was about as big, and I saw that it was about half the size. But I mean,
but even at half, But
so, yeah, go look at video of that. What's astounding about that Beirut blast is there happens to be people who were filming when it happened, because there was a fire.
I remember when it happened. Yeah.
So you've seen that like that white cloud. That's that water vapor expanding, right? And the you can't see it, but there's nitrous oxide gas in there as well. So imagine twice that size. That would probably be about the size of that first Texas City blast in 1947. Yeah.
I mean, I remember seeing it on the news, and I don't remember if they mentioned Texas City, but yeah, I mean, this is stuff that was just stored down there for like 7 years, soaking up that warm, kind of moist Mediterranean breeze.
Right.
Not the way you should handle and store this stuff.
No, and like the story behind it's kind of interesting. Like it was started in Georgia, not our Georgia, but the Republic of Georgia, en route to Mozambique, and apparently the owners were like, we're not making enough money on this trip, so we're going to divert over to Beirut and pick up some more freight. And the crew said, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to make the weight dangerous. So they balked. Port fees started racking up, and the owners apparently just decided to abandon the crew, the ship, and the cargo. The cargo, once it was impounded, should have been sold off, but it wasn't. Instead, it just, like you said, sat there, stored incorrectly for 6 years until something caused it to blow up, which is, I mean, just the idea that it was just negligence that led to that catastrophe it's even worse. I think that's something that's missing from the Texas City disaster. There wasn't really any negligent act. Maybe a mistake or a bad choice, but no one was particularly negligent about it. So I think it kind of makes the Beirut blast even worse, that people were supposed to be doing stuff that they didn't do, and a lot of people died as a result.
Yeah, I think the BP refinery in 2005, they had to pay out about $50 million for that one after they did a little safety audit. And in that safety audit, they found, and this was before the blast, actually, they did a safety audit, and they found that a lot of people that worked at this plant, it says, came to work with, quote, an exceptional degree of fear of catastrophic incidents, end quote. That's a little bit of a OSHA nightmare.
Everything that I've read about that was a direct result of BP cutting safety in favor of higher profit margins. That's what happened. That's what allowed this plant to deteriorate, and the machinery just didn't work. But they traced this explosion. This is an oil refinery explosion. It had nothing to do with ammonium nitrate. But I think whatever chemical they put in gas to boost the octane level, they turned a machine on that does that, and somehow like all these components to gasoline started vaporizing out into the air. It started shooting out of this tower because the pressure was overloaded. And there was so much gas vapor in the air that somebody had a pickup truck running nearby, and it got sucked up into the air intake, and the engine started revving, and that's actually what ignited the whole thing. All of this gas vapor, this pickup truck sucking in gas molecules that were just vaporized in the air around it.
Crazy.
In Texas City, again. It's crazy. So you got anything else?
I got nothing else.
Well, if you want to know more about the Texas City disaster, you can go look that up. I would strongly recommend reading Cheryl Lauersdorf Ross's Changing Lives in a Heartbeat journal article. And also big shout out to fireengineering.com. They had a good one. And then the local 1259, the Texas City Firefighters Union, has a really comprehensive overview of the Texas City disaster too. So maybe check those out for even more details. And since I said that, it's time for listener mail.
Yeah, I'm going to call this, I'm going to call it what Ryan called it. Well, I'm dumb, but I'm over it. Hey guys, long time, first time. I thought I'd tell you, you had me duped for a long time when I first started listening to the show a few years ago. And probably for a year after that first episode, I honestly thought there was a list of key words that Josh referred to toward the end of the episode whenever he says, well, since I said blank, it's time for listener mail. This is very cute. For an embarrassingly long time, I really thought that the blank word was from a predetermined master list and that you had revealed that list of words to the audience in an early episode.
Wow.
I guess like the magic word in
Pee-wee's Playhouse?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This guy must have really loved Pee-wee's Playhouse.
I started listening to increasingly older episodes in hopes that I would hear that list or catch a trend toward the words used.
Yeah.
Josh's transition with that statement at the end of every episode is just so smooth. Hey, there you go.
Thanks, man.
It wasn't until one episode when Josh's word was so mundane, so common, it was probably the or if or something along those lines, that I finally realized there is no list. I had been fooled.
The scales just fell from his eyes and he was free finally.
Well, since you said scales, those random words are just that, random. I actually felt a bit disappointed when I realized this, but it actually took some of the mystery out of the show. But I'm over it now. Whether or not it's good to admit I'd been fooled by this for a long time is up for debate, but I've been meaning to tell you about this for a while. Hope you think of me every time Josh transitions to listener mail from now on. I totally will.
Yeah.
Take care and keep doing what you're doing because it's a fantastic show. And since I said show, ...
What?
That's great. That is from Ryan Peschel.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for getting in our heads like that. Apparently we got in your heads too, so it's only fair. Don't you think, Chuck?
Yeah, and just right then I didn't think we had a listener mail, and then look what pops up.
Ryan Peschel saves the day again. And only Ryan knows what I'm talking about. It just ruined his life again. He's back in the game. If you want to get in touch with us and try to get in our heads like Ryan did, so we have to think of you every time we say something about listener mail or what have you, you can write to us. Send us an email to stuffpodcast@iheartradio.com.
Stuff You Should Know is a production of iHeartRadio. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.
You know, you could be adored by everyone and still completely ignored by your cat. Trust me, I know. But if you feed your cat Sheba, you can go from being ignored to truly adored in 12 days guaranteed or your money back. Sheba has a full menu of products, appetizers, entrees, treats, even a kitten's menu. It's so cute. So Sheba has a product for even the pickiest eater. Like Sheba Puree, it's made with bone broth, they are chef-inspired flavors, it's got a smooth and creamy texture that cats love, and contains no corn, wheat, soy, or artificial flavors. It's food that your cat's gonna love. To learn more, check out Sheba.com. That's SHEBA.com.
Stuff at Sea is a 5-night, adults-only sailing trip that brings the Stuff Podcast universe to life on board. This voyage is a culture-soaked escape where pink sand paradise meets curious minds. Sailing round trip from New York City to Bermuda on October 2nd to 7th, 2026, this voyage drops you straight into the iHeart Podcast Stuff universe. On top of the adults-only experience you already love, you'll get live podcast episode recordings, behind-the-scenes sessions, themed activations, and more unmissable onboard moments. Learn more at virginvoyages.com/stuff.
This is an iHeart podcast. Guaranteed human.